All I know is this. I want them to say that never quit. He never quit. No matter the odds, no matter the circumstances, no matter the situation, no matter who was against him or who was with him, that showed up. He showed up.
A little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. What I want you to want, what I want you to feel, but it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here cause you're all that I got. I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't change this damage anymore. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. A little bit insecure, a little unconfident, cause you don't understand to do what I can, but sometimes I don't make sense. What you never want to say, but I've never had a doubt. It's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you for once just to hear me out. So let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here cause you're all that I got. I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't change this damage anymore. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. No, hear me out now. You're gonna listen to me like it or not. Right now, hear me out now. You're gonna listen to me like it or not. Right now. I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't change this damage anymore. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. I can't feel. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't change. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored.
Yo, welcome to the Unconquered podcast. I have a really amazing special guest with me, RJ Choppy. If you have not heard of him, he is actually the co-host of Shan RJ in the morning with 105.3 The Fan. It is the most popular sports talk radio show in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I think for 17 years. Is that right? How many years in a row?
13. We've been on the air for 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah. I hope to get to 17. We'll see. I hope there.
Well, still 13, more than
Yeah.
a decade, man. Look, I'm going to be a little bit honest with you.
12 and a half. I'm not even smart enough to add. Woo.
No worries. When I transitioned careers, I kind of took my CPA hat off, and I've all of a sudden got really bad at math myself. So, you know, I have to be honest with you, man. Starting my businesses, I have not been able to listen as much as I used to, but I know that for me, especially pre-COVID, I was in a career that I absolutely hated. And, you know, Sean brings this up on Sean Sharif, the other host, has brought it up before. I've heard him talk about it. I used to like hope for traffic on my way to work in the mornings so I could listen to you guys longer, because it was like one of the bright shining spots of my day was that hour-long morning commute fighting the traffic, because I got to laugh and get to hear y'all talk about the Cowboys, especially on weeks where the Cowboys won. Those were the best mornings. So I owe you guys a big thank you. You've brought a lot of happiness and joy to my life that I otherwise would not have had.
Well, we appreciate that, and we hope to get you back in traffic again. Yeah, the post-COVID radio world is a mess. It really is. It's a nightmare because it's an avenue, a medium that for the most part, historically, is consumed one way, and that's in your car. I shouldn't say historically, because obviously that was TV at one point. That was everybody's television. But since the 50s, 60s, whatever, I mean, it's been in your car. And over the last decade or so, it's progressively gone away from that. To the point where it's almost 50-50 now. And in some cities, it's more. I mean, I've heard New York City, 60% of all, about 60% of all radio is consumed on an app. Not now, New York is a commuter city, right? People take the trains and everything, so it's maybe a little skewed there. But I mean, I'd be stunned if it still wasn't close to 40% here in DFW. So that still leaves 60% of the people, 70% of the people in the vehicle. And if they're not working at an office or in the car in traffic, then they have to find another way to listen, which is it's much more difficult to train. It's like a little radio term, right? Because people like their habits are formed and trained, and you may not even realize it, but you wake up in the morning. You basically, I know I do the same thing every day.
Yep.
Every day I wake up, I let the dog out. I go make coffee. I get my breakfast together. I go to the bathroom. I brush my teeth. I get dressed. I come back. I let the dog back in. I feed him, and I go to work. I mean, that is every single day. I take the same route to work. We all do. I do the same thing when I get in a car. I start my car before I get out there. Like, we all are creatures of habit. And the moment you break something that you've done, COVID forced us to break this. I don't know what anybody else outside of radio's day is like. I know my neighbors don't go to work. They work from home. So, I mean, it's a nightmare. It really is. It's a totally different world.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up. I know at least your the holding company who owns the radio station seems to have invested heavily, and a guilt-free plug here is the Odyssey app. So, and one thing that I want to also point out is maybe to help you guys is when y'all talk about Odyssey. Now, I was able to find it. But when I first heard Odyssey, I thought of, like the book, that Greek epic from, thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And I was spelling it ODYSSEY on my app store. And I was like, where in the heck is this thing? They keep talking about this amazing app. So for anyone listening, it is AUDACY, Odyssey, which makes sense. The play on words with the audio. It is a great app. So anyone listening, please download it, and give these guys a listen, because, RJ, you hit on a topic with the pandemic. Not only has it made radio a mess, it's the consequences have been far reaching, not just in, radio, but in almost every industry has been touched from a professional career sense. And then it's also, affected people's personal lives. We talked about it a little bit on the golf course. The first time I got COVID, it was absolutely horrible. I came from a family and a background where a lot of my family members thought it was fake. And, when I said, like, no, I'm really, like, struggling. Like, I didn't end up in the ER, but there's a night where it got a little touch and go. I had people in my family, not really believing how serious that first time I had COVID really was.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah, look, you're right. We have not even touched what the ramifications of pandemic are going to be, outside of the health aspect of it. Like what's going to happen with all these buildings that are empty, that are still, the return to work stuff is still not 100%. What's going to happen with everybody's lives, and everybody's been touched by it. But man, I'll tell you, like I had it before we knew what it was. I had it in February of 20, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, I guess I have this thing, and because I'm reading down the symptoms, and I'm like, oh, I got all of them. And then when they finally came out with the antibody test, I had it. I had the antibodies. Okay, all right, here we go. I guess, and that was bad. That was awful. I had parts of my body that didn't work for 6 months. on that one. It was
No,
terrible.
same here. It took me about 6 months to have a full recovery. Really
Yeah,
did.
it really did. And I developed adult asthma.
Mm.
I always had a little bit of touch of it, but now I need an inhaler. I use it didn't help that I was a smoker before, but I haven't smoked in a couple years now, 3 years ish. But I have I've got a COPD inhaler now because it's like to the point where like adult asthma restricts your airways to the point where I'll be trying to sleep and I'll jump in bed and I'm like I can't catch a deep breath and I can't catch it's like then you start to panic. So yeah, there's a whole litany of things that screwed up. It was real. We could debate on whether or not we handled it the right way, but it was real, man.
No, it was real. And look, I've actually become more moderate, and I owe some of your other former hosts apologies. Like KT, I used to be a very outspoken guy, and that was one thing I always appreciated with you is you're very upfront. I feel like you're very polite, but you're very upfront and you're very authentic to who you are. And just because you're on the radio, of course you have a persona. Everyone has a persona. Like even me on this podcast, I try to bring a different level of energy to the podcast. It is a persona in some form, but I feel like you have always been very open and honest about who you are, and you've given your true and real opinions, whether they're popular or not. And that's something I always appreciated about you. And so, with that being said, I know that we see eye to eye on a lot of things, and you don't always have the most popular opinions. So I've always appreciated the fact that even if it's not popular, you stay true to who you are.
I appreciate that. I mean, I guess if that's something that I've probably developed later in life too. I just decided to say, man, screw it. Like, what do I got to lose, right? If somebody doesn't like me because I, took a vaccine or didn't take a vaccine, then that's on them, man. I totally see the argument to take it, and I see the argument to not take it. I mean, what the hell? I took it. I think I was totally in favor of having one, and I think it's complete bogus to try to mandate it. Like that's where it should be. If I want to take it, let me take it. If I don't want to take it, then don't tell me I can't take it. Like I thought that was a terrible trend to start, especially because it's not like it's. And I am a full believer in all the vaccines. Like, just give me them all, man. Right? This is not the polio vaccine. We put this thing out here in no time. Like, don't tell me I have to take something that was kind of rushed. So, like, I don't have a problem having that opinion. I mean, I took it. It was my choice to take it, but I don't care if you don't. My mom didn't. Doesn't bother me at all. Like, that's her decision. I think it should be up to you.
Yeah, and same here. So I'm on the opposite end. I chose not to get it. I felt like I didn't get it as early as you did, but I did have it that first year. I did the antibody test. I had antibodies, and I just wanted to trust my body. But to the same extent, I still talk to people. I'm still friends with people. I knew people who ended relationships and friendships over this vaccine crap. It's a personal choice both ways. And but to lighten it up a little bit, I was more so talking about I think I really was too outspoken. I think me and KT at one point got into a Twitter battle that ended, not, we didn't really have a friendship or anything, but like really made me look bad over the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. Literally, it was over.
Your fight was over that.
Yes, it was over the Dez catch, and the fact and the fact that at that point
that was 10 years ago.
Well, this fight happened 3 or 4 years ago. It was It was Dak's first playoff loss, and KT predicted that we were going to lose, and I was at that game. And we almost had that monstrous comeback, and I was really already disappointed and upset that they didn't play Tony Romo. I really thought it should have been still Romo's team, that you shouldn't lose your job over an injury. And I thought he gave us the best chance to win. And no disrespect to Dak. He's having a great season. He's a great quarterback. Just that year, I wanted to see Romo play. And I was so upset and just butthurt over the fact that he predicted the Packers were going to win. And he was right. And yeah, I got in a Twitter battle over that football game.
I think the longer Twitter is in existence, the fewer battles I get into. There was a time you could suck me into one. You could draw me off sides. You could suck me into a Twitter battle. And now, I mean, it's much harder to get me to do one now. And it's probably a dare. Probably someone's going to try to draw me into one. But yeah, those things are a mess, man. Like it's a toxic place. It's an awful place. If you were to ask me what is the most dangerous place in the world, outside of a place that will get you killed, it is Twitter. You could lose a job, you could lose a friendship, you could lose a relative, you could lose family, you could lose everything on whatever the hell Elon calls it now, X. It is the worst. It is the worst place in America. In the world, not America, in the world. It is the worst place in the world where you will come away alive. You're not going to get shot at, but everything else that could go wrong on Twitter.
Well, I know you're right, because I took a really expensive course for them to basically tell me the reason you can't focus on your work is because you are on social media too much. So I actually deleted all my social media except for my LinkedIn, because it was kind of important to my job at that point. And I've since gotten social media back because it's important for marketing purposes for my business. But I do not have a Twitter or an X account. I just won't do it because of that very reason. And I've heard from other people that somehow, some way, the toxicity has actually gotten worse. Is that true?
The toxicity has gotten worse on Twitter? It did.
Okay.
But, I mean, look, what is the number one toxic topic on social media?
I don't know anymore. I'm not close enough.
It's politics. It's Donald Trump. That's the number one most toxic, subject on social media. Currently, there's not much right there, right? Like it's going to ramp up.
Oh God,
it's about to ramp up, right? We're less than a year away, so it's going to ramp up. And I think also when Elon took over, I think a lot it brought. I don't know if it changed things, but it doesn't feel like there's the same mob there used to be on social media. It just could be because there's no toxic politics talk right now. But I mean, anytime you get political discourse, or as is now lack of political discourse, you're going to have toxic fights. It's an awful place, and Twitter's also not a real place. It doesn't exist. It's not really. That's not real life.
Yeah,
there is no world that's actually like Twitter. Nobody even thinks like that. They just happen to on that when they open up that app. For some reason, they act completely differently. I don't know why, but they do. Well, everybody does. We all do.
You're right, but and what's crazy about it is it's like it can get pretty vitriolic on Facebook as well. But you're right. There's something about Twitter and the way that it was or just is designed. The way that I don't know if it's out. I don't know what it is. It definitely happens on other forms of social media, but one thing that helped me realize it was I've met people who think differently from me. And guess what? When I meet them in person, they're very good, nice people. And I'm actually a very good, nice person too. I can like everyone, I'm not perfect. And I realize hey, these people are my friends in real life. I don't speak like this in real life. What makes me think that it's okay? And what makes other people think that it's okay to do it online?
Yeah, Facebook can get pretty bad too. I think the difference is that you're fighting with your aunt. on Facebook. You're fighting with your college, your high school friend
Yeah.
that you barely spoke to, but somehow you're now best friends with because you happen to have their email address in 2009 and you signed on as their Facebook friend. It's totally different. On Twitter, you are fighting with an unnamed avatar of of a cartoon character who may be 15 years old and maybe 55 years old.
Or it could
And
be Kevin Durant. You never know.
it could be Kevin Durant. It could be Kevin Bacon for all we know. And you don't know what you're fighting against. You don't know who you're fighting against. They could get as nasty as they want to be because it's an anonymous. Twitter is an anonymous facilitation of a mob. Like and that's why it's very, very dangerous. If I have two boys, like I'm going to tell just they do not get a Twitter. You get Instagram, TikTok. Just stay off of Twitter. Don't need that smoke at 14 years old.
No, you're exactly right. Well, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I know someone, fairly close friend, who is a successful person, and he has a burner Twitter.
Oof.
And he literally, now he doesn't say anything bad. It's actually kind of funny. I've seen his stuff, but it's like inappropriate humor stuff.
Yeah,
that he'll just go. Yeah,
that scares me because if I had one, I feel like I would accidentally tweet from my own account, and that's scary to me. I don't want any part of that.
No, I wouldn't either. But apparently that's a thing with the younger generation, is having like this burner Twitter where you can go. Like he calls it like stirring the pot. He wants to go stir the pot. But yeah, no, this it's an interesting world. And I guess for me, coming back to kind of where we started, it's been nice though. 3 years out of COVID, I do feel like people have started to realize the importance of like in-person communication. Now, I know that it's, I guess, has to be more intentional, but like, when you and Bryce and I just went and played golf, I think we all three stepped away and said, hey, like, we're probably not going to be able to do this again before the holidays are over. But the first thing I think we all said was, this was a lot of fun. Like, let's make sure we do this more often on a more regular basis, because I think everyone is starting to really see the importance of being in person socially and doing things together.
Look, the importance of being together with people. I mean, that is, you want to have a quick way of, I mean, there's so many psychological studies about interpersonal communication. And if you are around people, if you are a loner, it's different. Can anybody that you know of go more than 72 hours without talking to somebody? And I mean, maybe you can, but if you do, how different do you come out of that cave? I'm sure quite different, right? There's a lot of psychological studies out there about that say sitting in your house and being a relative hermit is not good for you.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed, and I hadn't played golf since August when we played.
And you shot even at a very difficult golf course. So
for 9 holes. For nine holes. I blew up on the back nine. The back nine was all the rust. It was all the rust. But you have to get out there and do that. You gotta hang out with your neighbors. You gotta have guy friends. Girls have to have girlfriends. You've got to do that. You have to be able to. You also have to be around people that aren't going to just be yes men to you and just tell you. You got to be around people that'll check you. It's very important.
So, one thing that I've realized hanging out around you, talking with you, man, is you're a really smart person. Ooh. And it's not a surprise, because to be on the radio, to be able to hold people's attention, to be an entertainer, like if you go and look at like entertainers, I would argue that all, if not at least a vast majority of the most successful entertainers are all very high IQ, bright individuals. Take Robin Williams as just a quick example, right? And I want to give you a chance. Like, who is RJ Choppy? Outside of the morning show. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Like, what are your hopes and dreams? And how did you get to become who most people know you as the morning show host?
Oh man. Well, I'm 44 years old. I think my hopes and dreams are about had. Um, so I was. Let's see. Let's go all the way back to day one. When I first got to work at ESPN in 2002, Scott Masteller was the boss there. And our first staff meeting, he was like, "All right, introduce yourself in 25 words or less." And my first word was "well," and that was one. That was one word. So let's try to do this a little bit better than that. That's a word right there. So I grew up in upstate New York in Albany in a town called Latham, just outside Albany. I was there for 6 years. Family moved to Jersey. We are an old school Italian household. My my grandfather and his dad, when they came over here, they started this Italian club in the Albany area, which basically was a license to play cards, drink. My dad's uncle fixed the first New York State lottery, or at least he claims he did. He was running numbers for the mob and doing all that kind of stuff. So that's my dad's side. My mom's side were farmers from Sicily. So I am old country. And
Is it safe to say you're like 1 degree away from that 30 for 30 episode where the mob was fixing, I think, the college basketball games?
College basketball, the point spread, Boston College, right? Or
yeah.
It was either LIU or Boston College, maybe both. Yeah, look, I would not be surprised if my great uncle didn't know something that was going on there. But no, I am a purebred Guido. There is that. And unfortunately, I have, in my old age, I don't even know if it's my old age. I think it's more that I stopped eating Italian food as much as I did. That's all we used to have. As a kid, 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, Italian food. And then the other night was probably burgers or steak or whatever, right? So I think that what happened is, like, I stopped eating it as much, and I just can't have it anymore. Like, it gives me very bad indigestion. I have wicked stomach problems the next day, to the point where I can't leave the house for several hours. It's awful. So I fight through it because I love it and I suffer the consequences. But if I tell you I can't play golf and you ask me why, and I said because I'm having pizza for dinner tonight and I won't be able to play tomorrow, that's why. You just gotta understand.
But I do get it. One of my best friends growing up, his name is Joe Ievoli. Old school Italian from upstate New York as well. They're big Giants fans, if that tells you anything, still to this day. And I'd go over there almost every Sunday in high school. His mom would cook. They called it family dinner.
Yeah.
And there was one time where they invited me over for burgers. I thought, okay, nice change of pace. It's Sunday in the summertime. He had a swimming pool. So his dad's cooking out, and I just had ate a burger, and we walk in from the swimming pool, and I kid you not, RJ, she had a full Italian feast, baked ziti, huge, Italian salad, all the sides. And she's like, okay, it's time to eat dinner. And I was like, Miss Ievoli, like, no, she's like, no, you're going to sit down and eat. So I literally just eaten like a big burger, sit down, have, the big Italian baked ziti. And then afterwards she goes, hey, I made dessert.
Yeah.
And she pulled out not one, but two. She pulls out a homemade cheesecake, a homemade triple chocolate cake, and then she had pudding.
Yeah.
And she was like, you have to try at least a bite of all of them and tell me which one's your favorite.
Yeah. So my fiance, Sarah, has no concept of the fact that we had dessert every night. She can't grasp that we had dessert every single night as a kid growing up. It didn't matter if we went out to dinner or we went to some other neighbor's house. When we got home, we had dessert. Every damn night we had dessert. I could not believe it. Myself, I thought it was normal. I couldn't believe that she didn't understand a dessert's a real thing every night, and it's just maybe it's just the Italian household. I have no idea. But that was, and when we moved out of New York, we moved to Jersey. I feel like we got less Italian when we moved to Jersey, which is obviously odd because it's crawling with people like me, fist pumping everywhere. But we weren't around family anymore. We were the only ones down there.
Mhm.
So you lose some of that. We moved to sort of a melting, not a melting pot's a terrible word because this was the whitest damn town in America. But it was a melting pot of people from all over the country that moved there because they were going to work in New York City, and they moved. We were about 30, 40 miles out. And it was also college towns in Princeton, so it was just a little bit different. So it didn't have the ethnic attitude that like other parts, Bloomfield, New Jersey might have, right? Or it's just all Italian. And then I went to Tennessee for college. All I knew was that I wanted to go south.
Okay.
My parents had tinkered with the idea when I was like a freshman or sophomore that we were moving to California. And then that fell through. So when I was in my senior year, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna move to Texas after you graduate." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I was looking for someplace in the South anyway. So I ended up in Tennessee. That was a culture shock. I'll tell you that right now. And I was there for 5 amazing years. And there are not many places that I would move to, and I would leave Dallas-Fort Worth for. I could probably leave for Vegas or Phoenix or somewhere in Florida, and I could probably do like Wyoming and Montana and Colorado and, just go retire and disappear on a ranch. But I would 100% move to Knoxville. I absolutely love it there. It is. The song says it is home sweet home to me. It is like I get emotional thinking about Knoxville, Tennessee. Like I love it there. It is an awesome place. I hope my son decides to go to college there. He says he wants to. I hope the school allows an alumnus to get in-state tuition. We'll see. That'd be nice. It'd be a good gesture. I'll tell you that right now. Hope his grades can make it in there. But I love it there. Any chance I can to get back, I go back. Those are my kind of people, man. They are hillbillies. And I am an Italian hillbilly. I'm a redneck. I'm a Guido. I'm a hillbilly. Like, give me some moonshine and some overalls, and I will make I will make do with my life.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the moonshine. I have another person to introduce you to, a neighbor of mine who just opened up his own distillery. His name is Moonshine Shua, has like 400,000 followers on TikTok. That's a hell of a story on its own. But it's funny that you bring up Vegas and Tennessee and Florida, because those are about the only 3 spots I'd be willing to move to out of Texas, because I do love it here. I need to make it to Knoxville. I will say I've been to Nashville many times, and I love the city of Nashville.
Yeah,
Need to visit
Nashville's
Knoxville.
fun. Yeah, and Nashville's a lot different than when I was there. When I was in college, this is 20 years ago. I graduated in 2002. Nashville was fun, but it wasn't anything like it is now. It's back then it was, hey, let's go line dancing. Let's go to the God, what the hell? They had that one country dance place that was on CMT, or remember, it was TNN, the Nashville network. It was no.
It's not the Grand Ole Opry, is it, that you're
No, it's not the Grand Ole Opry. I'll let's see, TNN. I gotta Google this, man, real quick. I gotta figure this out.
Yeah. While you're Googling it, I was there a couple of years, or about a year ago, and apparently they're calling it Smashville now because it's like where all the bachelorette parties are.
Yep.
All of a sudden. So I'm assuming there's some people who are hawking soon to be brides down on what do they call it? Is it Broadway?
In Nashville, yep. It was Wild Horse Saloon.
I've actually been there, I think.
The Wild Horse Saloon.
I think I've been there. Yeah. That's a pretty well known spot.
Yeah, it was. And it's like CMT, I think the TNN, the National Network, was in, or HGTV and the National Network were both based. HGTV was based in Knoxville for a while, at least the American part was based in Knoxville, and then
Uh-huh.
TNN CMT were in Nashville. But it was look, it was a great time. It always was, but Knoxville is that's a great spot, man. Highly recommend.
So when you were at Tennessee, were you doing like radio, TV, film? Did you always kind of want to be an entertainer, or were you trying to do something different?
No, I was. I went there for business. I had never had any idea, any thought of doing radio. I thought there was no chance of getting that job. How do you get it? My dad was, he was always kind of like he was never a risk taker. He was like, don't go for that job. You'll never get it. Just do something safe. Okay. So I went into business, and I found out by the end of, I'll tell you this, I blame my dad for my golf career dying. Because I was a competitive golfer at the time, and I was really, really good. I was, I was +2 handicap at the time.
Wow.
I was really good. And I got down to Knoxville, and I walk on, and I get on the team, and we're, I don't know, 2 weeks after the walk-on tryouts, I get put on academic probation with I for some reason I didn't talk to the guidance counselors at all. So for some reason I go down there, and I took 18 credit hours my first semester.
Ooh.
And I was 17 years old. I was 17 years old when I got to college. I don't think I went to any of my 8 a.m. classes in the first month. Like, it was, because I wasn't I wasn't thinking. I had no idea. So I get put on academic probation, and that was it. That was it. I couldn't do math. And the moment I got put on probation, I knew that I was never going to be able to play golf again, because you can't do anything when you're on it. So I wasn't going to, there was no golf courses that I could play near Knoxville that I was going to drive to. I mean, I was a college kid, man. I was more worried about getting drunk and meeting some chick. So that ended it. And then I needed to find a degree that I could get through that didn't require math. So I asked my guy, I finally got a guidance counselor to talk to, and I said to him, I said, what is this degree? And he said, speech. Perfect. Let's do it. Sounds good to me. I just wanted to get out of college at that point. So I interned at a Knoxville radio station. It was almost perfect, because the guy I interned with was a guy named Tony Basilio.
I love it.
And I think I was the first Italian kid that came to him to ask for an internship, and he gave me one without even talking to me. He goes, there you go. Let's go. All right, cool. So I did that. I did that for 2 years. I stopped getting credits after the first semester, and I stuck there for free for another, 2.5 semesters. And that's how I started. That's how the whole thing got underway.
Isn't that what they say, though? That's how you should pick your career, especially when you're young, is pick something that you're willing to do for free?
Yeah, I guess
I've heard that before. I've heard that advice before, I mean,
I thought I did, because I was willing to play golf for free.
Right. No, me too. I'm willing to play golf. In fact, I'm willing to pay thousands of dollars to be at a membership to play golf for free on a nice golf course. So,
yeah, I'll play golf for free. But yeah, so I guess that's how it started. And I guess you're right. I mean, it is something that you would wind up doing. So that's how I got into this thing. I interned for a guy named Tony Basilio, who I still keep in touch with. He's a great guy. I seriously, like, without him, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. I wouldn't be here. That's for dang sure.
No, so that's pretty incredible. And there's actually, I've got to interview, meet, talk to a lot of highly successful people in a lot of different fields, whether it's accounting, finance, banking, professional sports, radio, entertainment. Been incredibly fortunate, especially given that sometimes I'm not always the most agreeable person in the world either, that people still somehow seem to like me a little bit, which blows my own mind. And credit to the big man upstairs for helping me navigate all that. But there's a lot of common themes on. I had one of my best mentors kind of told me, don't worry too much about your career, that it will end up finding you. And in some ways, I feel like kind of radio kind of found you in a way, right spot at the right time. But it's not like a luck thing. It's you still had to go out there and work hard. And look, from the time that you started at your internship to where you are today, I'm not saying we can get into every trial and triumph, but I'm assuming when you started at ESPN, when you graduated college and started at ESPN, I'm assuming, that you weren't debating Skip Bayless on First Take your first day on the job.
Oh, no, my first day on the job, I worked overnights, midnight to 6. I think it was a Tuesday. It was my first day. It was midnight to 6. I was running the Todd Wright all-night radio show on ESPN Radio, and I trained under. Let's see, there was a handful of guys that would train me every different night. It was a different person, and I did that. I did the overnights for about 2 years. Now there was an occasion where the Mavs would play a West Coast game. And so one of the things that I did when I got there, I asked if I could do updates, live updates. And at first they had said no. So what I did was I recorded them and I sent them to the boss. He was like, yeah, go ahead and do it. So I did them, and I did the overnight updates. And then I started to do, like, when the Mavs games were playing, we were the Mavs station at the time. I would do them during a live show. And that was the first thing that was different because in a network show, they're a minute. But with the intro and outro, they're really like 48 seconds. During a live show, they're a minute and a half. So I had a little bit more time to talk, right? So it was great. Big deal. I stole an extra 30 seconds out of you, right? I'm all hopped up. I'm all excited. I get to run the board on a live show too. And then the best was when I was in the other studio where someone was running the board for me, getting to do my updates. I was like, yeah, this is cool, man. I'm at the big time. $10 an hour. $10 an hour. That's what it was. Capped at 25 hours a week because they didn't want to pay out insurance. So it's it was tough sledding. I lived with my parents till I was 27, and then I got engaged. But no, I did overnights for 2 years. Then I did 6 to midnight for I don't know, a handful, another year or 2, 3 years, and then I got to do a morning show. Mid-mornings, midday, so 9 to noon. I did Dennis and Angle. I ran the board for them. I did their updates too. That was the next cool thing. But I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, I did 5 a.m. to noon. I think I did 5 a.m. to noon for a while, and then I got moved off that, and I did Michael Irvin's show. And now we're talking about 2007. I've been at this for 5 years now. I've not gotten full time yet. Finally, when I got to Irvin's show, I got put on full time, and that was a big day. That was a big day for me. That was fun because like now I knew that they could work me as long as they wanted to. But I got insurance and I got a little bit more pay, but I was probably making $30,000 at that time, which I was grateful for.
Which is right above poverty level, basically.
Yeah, now in like 2007, that was much more doable.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot, but I was living at home. Remember, I was living at home still in 2007. And that's kind of where like I was teetering on that. Man, I've been this 5 years. Can I do this anymore? Can I do this anymore without getting a show, without getting a chance? Because I kept seeing like every time, there's always like they always felt like there was a fill-in spot. They were giving it to somebody else with more experience, and I get it, but it didn't help me at all. So there was a lot of times in there where I thought, "There's no way I could do this, where I could stay in this job. I need to go find something else." And finally, the station decides that they were going to hire a guy named Grego and I was the kind of third voice yuck monkey on the Michael Irvin show, and I guess Grego liked the way I talked to Michael one time about something. He thought I had an edge. He thought I was funny. And they were going to pair him with somebody else. And Grego said, no, I want to be paired with him. Or I'm not coming. And I had never met Grego. I had heard about him, obviously, but I had never met him. And, you know, if you were to run down the three people to thank, it's Tony Basilio and Grego are two of them. And I haven't figured out the third. Probably Tom Lee or Bruce Gilbert, or give me that other chance. One of the two. That's probably Bruce, because he didn't have to hire me. Yeah, that was it. That was it. It was Grego, man. Grego changed my life.
That's amazing. And, you know, a couple things, because I'm really big on, you know, my whole podcast is about living a life of your own design, like living an unconquered life. And that can look many different ways. I have many different types of people come on here, because I don't want to define what success is for anybody else. What I want to help people do is define success for themselves, and then apply that definition to find fulfillment in their own life. But you've touched on a lot of principles that, you know, are so important that, you know, I teach or coach or think are super important to just living a fulfilled life. And one of the things you brought up was, you know, you were told no, but you didn't let that no stop you. You did it and showed your boss, hey, look at what I can do. And now all of a sudden he thought again, said, hey, this kid has something, you know, give him a shot. And you created your own luck by not, a lot of people would just accept no and move on, but you decided to create your own opportunity by just doing it and taking a chance on yourself. I know what it's like to have parents that want you to take the safe route. And sometimes, or not sometimes, all the time, taking the safe route is a really good way to maybe make a lot of money, but be very unhappy. You know, I looked at job.
Yeah, the safe route means you're working for somebody else.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that working for somebody else is a bad thing. If you love what you do, you love what you do. But I left a job where I was making almost $300,000, and right now, right now, my businesses are gaining traction, but I'm in no way that in that same financial stratosphere. I will be again one day, but currently I'm building a business, and but I love what I do on a day in and day out basis. And even though I don't make that much money, I'm so much happier.
Oh, that's key. When I was in my 20s, I had a totally different perspective on things. It was just work. But now it's all about happiness, man. I thought to myself when I left, I ran into an old boss the other day, and he had said, like, man, I always remember you as the hardest worker there. And I was like, man, you know what? I wish that that was not what you remembered me by, because like anybody could be a hard worker. I want to be a talent. I don't want to be, to me, if somebody calls you a hard worker, that's like an insult. It's like, that's all you've got.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like this. Everybody should work hard. Like, that's not a unique skill, right? Working hard is not a unique skill. It's just something that everybody should have.
Well, unfortunately, most people don't work hard.
No, they don't. And it's unfortunate, but I remember when I left ESPN, I was like, and I went over to the Fan. I was like, man, I don't ever want to hear somebody just think of me just as a hard worker again. Like, I hated that. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't work hard now. I do, but I don't like to talk about it because I think it's like, man, to me, I've always said, like, if you can't stop talking about how much money you make or how religious you are, how smart you are, it's probably because you're not any of those things. You're just trying to create a facade.
Or you might be those things. So I've been in that boat, but maybe you're just insecure.
Yeah, or maybe you're insecure. Yeah, it's probably you're insecure too. But like, anybody who tells you, "Oh man, I'm the hardest worker there is," are you? Like,
right?
You know, or
like the hard work will show for itself,
right? Or is that something you put on your resume?
But one thing though that I don't think a lot of people get, especially in your industry, and I've touched on it talking with Bryce a little bit because I'm constantly reminded, but I tend to do a lot of reminding. I know I had multiple people, like I said, I was making almost 300,000, and I knew people who would be like, man, like, Dak just got $100 million contract. Like, that's such BS. Like, we're working 18-hour days and I'm lucky to make, 6 figures. And I'm like, whoa. What a lot of people don't understand is that to do what you do, to do what Dak Prescott does, to do what Bryce Petty did, that is the same thing, if not more work. Think about the travel, professional athletes, a lot of them wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. You read about what Kobe Bryant did to become Kobe Bryant. I know for you on a morning show, now, I'm sure now with all your experience, it's not the same, but I'm sure when you first started, you were probably up an hour and a half before the show started. You were probably reading through all these emails, looking at your storyboards, looking at I don't know all the lingo, but the production sheets, and there's so much preparation that goes into that 3.5, 4 hour radio show that people just see this finished product and like, wow, I wish I could be on the radio. Well, do you really? Because do you know what it really takes to do what RJ does? Do you know what it really takes to do what Dak Prescott does? Because you don't just show up on Sundays and win a football game. I'll put it to you that way.
No, you don't. And you don't just show up to a show and do a good one. Now, there are some people who can. The gift of the gab. That's what you got. You get the gift of the gab, right? But, you still got to do your homework in terms of knowing what to do, knowing what's going on. You want to be kind of detail oriented. I don't like, honestly, if you were like, I enjoy the unstructured format of a podcast way better than talk radio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like clocks. I don't like having to stay on topic. I like to be able to let my mind wander. That's just my mind wanders a lot. And then Shan is a stay on topic, guy. That's great for the radio. I love and I love doing the radio show. I don't want to do anything else, but like doing a podcast, at least the few ones that I've done, it's fun to be able to go this way and over here. But there's not nearly the prep that goes into doing a podcast, for me at least, as there is going to a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to a podcast, I could live look at things. I can do my own prep work on the fly while we're doing the show. But I'm working for myself. When you're working for somebody else and you have 78 bosses and shareholders and a different format, when people turn on a podcast, they expect you to wander.
Mm-hmm.
When they turn on the radio, they don't expect you to wander. It's just, I think it's totally different. And yeah, you can't walk into a radio program without having looked or done anything and expect it to be a good one. If you can, boy, I am jealous.
Well, what I was almost referring to is like you have kids and you're recently engaged. Congratulations again, by the way.
Thank you.
Look, I know that sports is a passion, but I also know I'm passionate about almost everything in my professional life. Now I'm starting my business. I'm passionate about it, but there's times where I have a call coming up on a Monday morning with a client and I love the client, but I don't feel like sacrificing my Sunday night with my family to prepare, but I do because I need to put food on the table. And the same goes with you. I am sure that as much as you love football, there's Sunday nights every once in a while where maybe you'd like to just kick back and watch HBO with your fiance and not watch the football game. And honestly, I couldn't imagine what it would be like sometimes when sports, which is a hobby for most people, for most of your listeners, it's a hobby, but for you, it's your job. I'm sure watching all the sports at some point gets a little old sometimes. And that's kind of where I'm coming at with people is like, even if you love stuff, you're still a human and you don't want to have to watch every Monday night football game, but you kind of have to with your job.
Oh yeah, there's definitely times we don't want to watch it. Now football is different. I think football is I don't necessarily get tired of watching football. I mean, there'll be sometimes on a Sunday night where I'm sick of it.
Mhm.
The ones I get tired of are the every night sports.
Mhm.
I get really tired of watching, the NBA. I don't get tired of baseball that much. I'm pretty much a junkie.
Well, I
But
mean,
I
we
think
did just win the World Series, so I mean,
that's
we
right.
got to, yeah.
Yeah, and part of that is, I've coached baseball. My kids are, really into it at the youth level. So I will talk with them a lot about it, and they call up during the games and they want to talk about it. So I don't really get sick of that because I don't get sick of talking to them about that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I get a little sick of, all right, another Mav game on. Okay, let's see. Oh, Luka's not playing. Kyrie's not going to play. I'm out. Like it's just if you're not going to put in the effort to win, I'm not going to put in the effort to watch you. Like that's
Yep.
and I don't think and I would do it with baseball. Like I said, my kids are really really into it. But yeah, man, it's like I don't necessarily get tired of watching football. I really
Good.
don't. College football, NFL, but they make it so easy. They make it so easy for you.
Well, I don't know. College football, the last thing I'll say, because I know we got to wrap it up here in a minute, but they talk about baseball games being too long, man. These college football games are way too long.
Oh, they are.
Way
And
too long.
they fixed that. They fixed that. That was good. That was good. They fixed it.
Oh, they did? Okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, they got rid of the clock stopping every first down.
Good. Okay.
Now that's
Okay.
it's still not a perfect fix. I mean, it didn't eliminate an hour, but
Mhm.
it's a little bit better. The problem college football has is that there's such a passing league, and sometimes you get quarterbacks who just aren't very accurate, and you get
Mhm.
28 incompletions in a game, and you're screwed. But no, football is very easy to watch, and I think that's why most talk show hosts today, two reasons. One, that it's what everybody wants to hear, but the other, it's just easier. If you listen, most talk shows spend a majority of their time on football.
Yep.
There's very little basketball or baseball or hockey that is spoken about. So, yeah, that's what most of the discussion and the time is spent on is that sport because it's so easy to be a fan.
Mhm. Mhm. And with, people like Jerry Jones who are innovating and, he helped get women into the sport.
Yeah.
So, it goes to both genders, but hey, man, I really wanted to thank you for coming on today. It seems like there's so much more we could dive into. Would love to have you on a second time after the
Let's do it.
holidays. But I always like to open up kind of the floor here, kind of give you the last word on however you want to end.
Oh, man.
I would say what is something that you could leave for young people who are trying to make a name for themselves in media entertainment. It doesn't necessarily have to be radio. There's a lot of different genres, a lot of different forms, but it's a hard industry to break into. What's some advice that you would leave with someone who's trying to be the next RJ Choppy?
Well, I wouldn't recommend that. Nobody wants to be known as the village idiot. Um, all right. I'll tell you this: the same thing I tell people when they're, nervous about talking to a girl or whatever. Be charming. Be funny. And we all have the same information at our fingertips. We all watch the same game. We all know the news that's going on in the day. We all can read what's going on in the world. We all know the political talking points. We all know stock market, whatever you want to say, the housing. We all know. We all know that. So whatever you're doing, whether it's talk radio, news radio, sports radio, TV, or even if you're doing something else, like don't be scared to fail. Don't be scared to say something that's dumb, but be funny. Like that, be charming. Like that's something that's different. And I think we have, as we've become. Have you ever noticed, like, when you just, and maybe I'm just, it's something I feel in my head. I feel there's way more characters in the world. Like, you don't have these larger than life coaching characters anymore. Nick Saban's, he's got no personality. He wasn't like Raleigh Massimino back in the 80s. He wasn't like Bobby Knight. Now I'm not saying to be like Bobby Knight, but like he was a character, right? They got these larger than life figures in sports, in the world, and I feel we've lost a lot of that. We've lost a lot of our personality because everyone's scared. Everyone's scared of saying something stupid. Everyone's scared of getting canceled. You can't be scared of being canceled because you just can't. It's either going to happen or it's not. You deal with the consequences. Don't be scared of failing. Like, if you're scared of failing, you will never, ever succeed. You just won't. You have to be able to. I try to tell my kids all this time. You have to be able to fail and live with it and deal with it. And man, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to be able to deal with that when you accept that it's possible and it'll be okay. If you fail, it'll be all right. What won't be all right is if you never get back up again.
That's right.
Boy, that was an awful cliche.
No, that was amazing. I mean, there's a sign that I look at every day. It basically says losing isn't the end, but quitting is.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Except smoking. Quit smoking. That's good. Quit smoking, but don't quit drinking.
No, yeah, I'm with you, man. No, hey, that was really amazing. That was a lot of wisdom packed in there. Really resonated with me. Again, appreciate you coming on the show, man. And look forward to take number 2 with you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I know you got to get some rest because you'll be up early for tomorrow's show. If you enjoy my podcast, please support me by buying my book, Resonate: Principles of Peak Performance, available on Amazon and at theresonatebook.com. Also, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share my page. Thank you.